Okay, picture this for a second. A weapon so terrifying it could literally burn on water. A liquid fire that clung to ships and sailors, and a secret so powerful an entire empire's survival depended on it. Today we are unraveling the incredible mystery of Greek fire.
I mean, just listen to how people described it back then. You can feel the absolute panic in those words. They saw it as something that defied the laws of nature. This wasn't just a fire that burned. It consumed everything in its path, even the sea itself. Wild.
So, that's the big question, right? For centuries, its formula was one of history's most closely guarded secrets, a chemical recipe that gave one empire an almost supernatural edge. But what exactly was it?
Well, to even begin to find the answer, we have to go back in time, back to the Byzantine Empire. See, they didn't just invent Greek fire. They built such an intense wall of secrecy around it that when their empire finally fell, the secret just vanished with them.
And just look at how long this thing was a factor. We're talking about nearly 800 years. From the moment it was invented, it became the absolute key to their power on the seas. It wasn't just another weapon in the arsenal. For centuries, this was the weapon that literally kept the empire from crumbling. That is, until the chaos of history finally broke that chain of knowledge for good.
So you might be wondering, how does something so vital just disappear? Well, the Byzantines made sure it would. This wasn't a formula written in some textbook for anyone to find. No way. This was a state secret on the level of, say, a modern nuclear code. It was passed down verbally through a single family, and any written accounts that even hinted at it were deliberately vague. They basically built a fortress of mystery around it.
And for centuries, that fortress held strong. But today, we have a new kind of detective on the case. One that can read between the lines of those ancient cryptic texts, artificial intelligence. It's starting to piece together a puzzle that has stumped historians for over 500 years.
And the way it works is just fascinating. The AI basically acts like a digital archaeologist. First, it scans every vague description it can find, words like thick, smoky, hissing. Then, it cross-references those clues with a giant database of chemicals. But here's where the real magic happens. It simulates thousands upon thousands of chemical reactions, looking for the one that behaves just like the legends say, before finally showing us what it most likely looked like.
And those simulations, well, they lead us right here. We're about to see what the AI came up with, a reconstruction of the chemical properties that made this ancient weapon so uniquely, devastatingly terrifying.
So it seems there wasn't one single magic ingredient. It was the whole nightmarish cocktail. The AI points to this: naphtha, which is basically crude petroleum, as the fuel; pine resin to make it super sticky, almost like an ancient napalm; and sulfur for the toxic fumes and extra heat. But the real genius ingredient, the absolute game changer, is the quicklime. Why? Because it ignites on contact with water.
And that is the first terrifying property. Just think about it. You're in a naval battle. What's the one thing you have an infinite supply of to put out a fire? Water. But throwing water on Greek fire was like throwing gasoline on it. That quicklime reaction meant water actually started the ignition and fueled the blaze.
Next up, thanks to that pine resin, this wasn't just some liquid you could splash away. Oh no. It was a thick, sticky gel. It would adhere to wood, to sails, to human skin. Once it hit you, or your ship, it stayed there, burning. There was literally no escape.
So when you put all of that together, you get this: a sticky, toxic fire that actually ignites and burns on water. It completely defied every known method of firefighting they had at the time. You can see why it wasn't just a weapon. It was a psychological tool that seemed to break the very laws of physics.
You know, a scientific breakthrough like this doesn't just change battles. It can reshape history. This wasn't just a new kind of fire. It was a completely new kind of warfare. Just look at this comparison. Before Greek fire, naval combat was all up close and personal, ramming ships, soldiers storming enemy decks. But afterwards, it became about ranged destruction. Why would you risk getting close when you could launch an unquenchable fire from a safe distance? Suddenly, a single piece of tech made entire fleets useless. Wooden ships went from being fortresses to floating coffins.
So, to wrap this incredible story up, Greek fire was a total game changer, a weapon whose secret was so well kept it was lost to time. And now, modern AI is giving us the tools to finally crack that ancient code. By understanding its secret chemistry, we finally understand why it was so powerful it could hold an entire empire together.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought, doesn't it? We've just seen AI reverse engineer a weapon of war. But what else is hiding out there, buried in the cryptic texts of the past? Lost medical knowledge? Forgotten secrets of architecture? The AI chemical detective, it seems, is just getting started.